What's up, my guys? Welcome to another show, man. College football talk with Jay. We got our guy Tony Mejia from Wager Talk, guys. You didn't know we're partnering with Wager Talk. A lot of great cappers over there. We're giving out free picks, all type of good stuff, man. Doing free shows, giving out plenty of picks, college, NFL, every single day on the YouTube channel and on their YouTube channel as well. I'm staring at the Wager Talk odds screen right now, guys. Just comparing lines. Make sure you're getting the best lines whenever you're betting. What's up with you, Tony? Everything cool with you, my brother? Like the shirt as well.
I appreciate it. I see you wearing the blue. I've got the black. But yeah, things are pretty good. I would have preferred to have a better week one to the college football season, but I lost back-to-back heartbreak in plays. Utah, Florida. I thought Utah had that in the bag. Then Florida State, LSU didn't feel as bad about that one, even though the comeback felt great. And then you missed the extra point. I thought LSU would have won that game in OT. And then Monday night, I couldn't decide whether I wanted to lay so much with Clemson in the first half or the full game. So I went first half, and then Georgia Tech hit that late field goal, didn't cover the 13.5, and then Clemson goes on to cover. So 3 straight side losses. I went 5-1 on total plays, went 4-1 in week 0. So we're still up for the season, but want to get it all back and then some in week 2. And, this is overreaction week, as they like to say, based on all the week 1 results. Week 1 of the NFL season. We'll talk about the Rams and the Bills tonight. So it's a blast. And then next month, it's like a juggling act, bro. We ship into NBA and college basketball too.
Yeah, I'm always locked into the NBA, man. So it's no juggling into that for me. Football, this just hold me over to the basketball, my guys. But let's get straight into it, man. Let's get straight into it. Let's talk about the Friday games first. College football, right? The first game up, we do have Louisville catching 6.5 points from Central Florida. Louisville looked terrible in the first week versus Syracuse, while Central Florida looked pretty good versus the HBCU team. Now they're going up against the big boys over there. You're close to Central Florida over there, Tony. So did you go there? Didn't you go there? Yeah.
That's my alma mater. I've been accused of being a homer this week already because we touched on this on Wager Talk on Tuesday, and already in the comments you're like, "Oh, you can't trust Mejia on UCF." He went, but that's absolutely not true. In fact, I wasn't gung ho on this season until John Rice Plumlee, the Ole Miss transfer, beat out Mikey Keene, the true freshman last year, sophomore this year, for the quarterback spot. And then I saw how they played against South Carolina State. Now I'm all in. I think they'll have a big year.
Yeah, no, that's face right there. So, do you think that they can cover this 6.5 versus Louisville? Obviously Louisville looked bad last week. Do you think they bounce back, or they continue to be trash over there? They got a good quarterback, Malik Cunningham, but just seems the rest of the team. I'm not even sure if he's sold on playing over there. What do you think? Does the Central Florida take Louisville to Smack City? We got a total of 61.5 as well.
Yeah, I was surprised that the number is now down to 5.5. There's even a 5 out there. So we'll see if that balances out again tomorrow on game day, and more money comes in on UCF side to push it back up to 6. Might want to get on that UCF side tonight, before that happens. My only trepidation, Jay, is that there's significant rain potentially in the forecast. Going to get it today on Thursday when we're taping. Going to get it on Friday potentially. I mean, the bounce house is a tremendous atmosphere. So if it stays dry, that'll obviously help the fans pack that place and rock that joint. I think the UCF offense is clearly more dynamic than Louisville, especially with what they showed at Syracuse. So, if it starts raining and we got a muddy track, that slows the Knights down. So that's my only source of having a little bit of consternation on this game. But I mean, I think they win by double digits. I mean, for this show, and I've said it all week, on an earlier show, this is going to be a 4% play for me. It's not a homer play based on what I saw. And yeah, there is a fear of overreaction. UCF's got it this year. Isaiah Bowser, the Northwestern transfer, he was excellent last year, but hurt his knee against Louisville at Louisville in a tough game. Dylan Gabriel, now the quarterback at Oklahoma, on the final play of the game, he separated his shoulder. That was the last snap he ever took at UCF before transferring out. So this game cut deep last year. It really changed the UCF season. That makes it a revenge spot. It was a Friday night last year at Louisville. Now it's a Friday night in Orlando. If the weather holds up, I think UCF wins and covers.
Yeah, that's a good point there. Like I said, Louisville, they weren't supposed to look that bad versus Syracuse last week, man. So I'm still scratching my head about them. Like you said, Tony, the money has come in on them, 6.5 down to 5.5. But I'm with you. Central Florida or nothing for me in this one. Hard to see. I mean, it's possible Louisville could bounce back, but when you throw in the revenge factor, Central Florida lost to them last year. Maybe they want to bounce back this year. Let's go over here to the streets of New Mexico here. It's only 2 Friday night games, so we'll touch both of them. Boise State laying 17 versus New Mexico here with a total of 44, Tony. Boise State looking to bounce back after that terrible game last week versus Oregon State. New Mexico, believe they blew out a little smaller FCS team, but like 39-0, 49-0. So they were looking good. Now they're going up against some big boys. Probably Boise State coming in here pissed off. Do you think they can take them to Smack City, or is 17 too much?
I mean, 17 is not enough based on history. I mean, it is one of those cases where Boise State did not look good against Oregon State, and I'm most concerned with their offensive line. They didn't get any push, but Boise State has owned this series, 9-1 in the last 10, covered 4 of the last 5. New Mexico's head coach Danny Gonzalez has gone 2-5 and 3-9 in his first couple of seasons, and this season they're supposed to be a decent team, but probably not going to be a bowl game, legitimate bowl team. And this starts a stretch where they'll host UTEP next week. That's kind of a rivalry game, and then they go to LSU and go back to Las Vegas for a game against UNLV. They played home games in Las Vegas because they were out of New Mexico due to the COVID. So for them, their standpoint, this will be a more normal season for the Lobos. But Boise State, I mean, they lost a lot of talent. Shakir, we'll see with the Buffalo Bills tonight, their stud wide receiver. But they should be able to beat New Mexico, even though the game is at University Stadium in Albuquerque. But the fact is are we going to see Boise State take a significant step back now going forward? Because, they've been a legitimate powerhouses in the Mountain West. This could be the beginning of the end. This is a big game for both schools, but I think the spread's about right. If I had to lean, it would be Boise State taking them to Smack City. But it's obviously a huge game based on what we saw against Oregon State, considering they really looked ordinary.
Yeah, they got to bounce back. I'd be looking for possibly a bounce back game out of Boise State. Obviously, it opened up 15.5 up to 17. I agree with the line move. I didn't lay it with Boise, but I would lean towards them having a bounce back game, a bounce back in a huge way as well. And they usually own New Mexico as well, my guys. Let's get over here to a Saturday game here. One that we talked about earlier in the week, Tony. We got UAB laying 6.5 at Liberty. Now we know that I heard that the quarterback was injured. That's why I was wondering why the line had moved up. As soon as it came out on Monday, I had took UAB minus the 4. Looked back at it a few minutes later, 10 minutes later, and it was up to 6.5. Then I got info that the Liberties that I believe Brewer got hurt, so they could be good or bad because he didn't look too well in the first game. But I just feel like if he won the starting job, then the second quarterback can be too much better in my opinion. But regardless, I like UAB to get some revenge. They got smacked up by Liberty a few years ago. I think this is the team now. Now they're obviously a lot better. Every year the Liberty think they're going to take a step back. I have a heavy link to UAB minus the 6.5 here, Tony. I think they win this one by a touchdown or more. What you think?
Well, Charlie Brewer lasted only 10 plays, and he was really polished as far as the guy that they expected to take the reins. Obviously, Malik Willis was a quarterback the past few seasons, a top NFL pick, one of the top quarterbacks taken. So guys like that don't go through Liberty very often, and they were really excited about Brewer starting his career at Baylor and then spent some time at Utah before heading there. Again, broken hand, expected to set him back at least a couple of months. Jonathan Bennett's been in the program for a couple of years, so they're comfortable with him. But in the game against Southern Miss, which is a very disappointing 29-27 win because they were supposed to beat Southern Miss more handily than that, Caden Salter, a Tennessee transfer that is another guy that looked really elusive. He ended up being the guy that saved them in the fourth quarter. They had 224 yards of total offense in the fourth to make a comeback, not once but twice. Then won it on the 2-point conversion game in the third overtime. So from that standpoint, I think we see Salter. Your best bet is seeing Salter get in a groove early, but he's kind of inexperienced. But at the same time, you don't get recruited to Tennessee if you're not if you don't have the pedigree for that. From a UAB standpoint, they had their coach, their longtime coach, the guy who really founded that program, retire in June just abruptly. Mm-hmm. So they've got an interim head coach. They did look good in that opener. They've got a lot of depth in the program. Push comes to shove, I would take UAB, but the game is at Liberty. I'm always concerned when teams go on the road under a new coach for the first time. That's why it's a stay away spot for me.
Got you. Yeah, I'm seeing some drop off for Liberty, man, after Malik Willis. Like you said, those type of players don't come to the program so often, and when they leave, it can just be a little bit of a kind of a hiccup right before they can really find that guy and they get comfortable. The team gets comfortable as well with the new quarterback over there. So especially with the you throw in that UAB got revenge versus get smacked up with them when they had Malik Willis. I just feel like this is their time to go and lay the smack city down on Liberty. Could be a good money line parlay piece as well. That one, but you know what I'm saying, with it, maybe I don't really do teasers, but if you did this with money line parlay with maybe an NFL game, I couldn't talk you off for that one. I know it's some good ones out there. You know what I'm saying? So we've been talking about it though all week. Let's get to the next game here, Tony. Let's go over here to the streets of. It's kind of like a backyard brawl here. We got Iowa State getting 3.5 versus Iowa here. Iowa usually basically been owning them here over the past 5 or 6 years, just basically smacking them up every year. Even when Iowa State last year was supposed to have the team to beat them, they still lost 27-17. But it's just like Iowa, really great defense. Can we trust their offense though, Tony? And is this number low? What are we doing in this one?
In a word, no, you can't trust their offense, bro. They had 4 points in the second half of the 7-3 win against South Dakota State, who, mind you, is an excellent FCS team, one of the top 3 in the country. But you tied 3-3 at halftime. Spencer Petras, the Iowa quarterback, has been there a few years, and they're ready to see the next guy in Iowa City. So that's always interesting, especially when you're laying points. But that Iowa defense is legit. So from that standpoint, when you have Iowa State coming in with a new quarterback as they lost Brock Purdy, a new running back as they lost Breece Hall, that's tough to do. Iowa State did, do what they need to do in terms of beating Southeast Missouri State the way they needed to, a blowout fashion. But this is a tough challenge. My lean is to the under, though. I believe it is 42, or it might have even come down even more. I wouldn't expect the winning team to score more than 20. So this has a 2013 feel to me. And certainly Iowa State has been big brother in this rivalry, 6 consecutive wins, 5-1 against the spread, or 4-1-1 if you missed out on the number one of those years. But and Iowa at home. But again, it could backfire against the Hawkeyes if Petras struggles early, because the crowd's ready to turn on him.
Right, yeah, that's facts right there. Yeah, I couldn't talk anyone out of under as well, man. Defense, really good defense, and your offense is pedestrian. They obviously have one of the best defenses in the country. That total has come down to 40.5 or 40s out there. So if you like in the under, you might want to get on there, because it's definitely heading towards 40. It's even juiced to the under at one book, so you might even see 39s coming the day of. Open up at 41.5 down to 40 with juice to the under, and most of the money on that under as well. Looks like that's the play in this game, my guys. Let's go over here to the streets of Texas A&M, man. We got the Aggies laying 18 points versus App State, man. App State had that game versus UNC, and then they gave up like 21 or 28 unanswered points. Then they got back in the game again late. That was a crazy game there, man. They scored more points than they did in the basketball game between those two teams. So can App State hang with Texas A&M here, or is this too many points to lay with the Aggies, Tony?
Yeah, kind of crazy. I mean, week one had their share of those games where I have never seen that before. Like a team that scores 40 points in the fourth quarter and can't win in regulation. But yeah, I mean, North Carolina's defense is terrible. They're going up against a different animal in Texas A&M. So it's going to be difficult to replicate that type of success. Chase Bryce, though, I mean, he was originally Sunshine, Trevor Lawrence's backup at Clemson before he transferred out because of lack of playing time. So he's a skilled kid. Then he played at Duke for a little while. threw for 6 touchdowns in that game against Carolina. So he's hit the ground running on the season. Their running back, they got a great running back room. Peoples is the best one. So, I mean, I think they're going to be able to move the ball, but I could be mistaken because you know what football is all about. It's about the push up front, and Texas A&M has monsters up front. But the one thing that concerns me about A&M is, they didn't run the ball as well as they should have in that opening win against Sam Houston State. They've got Haynes King, who was intercepted twice in that game. He is very highly touted guy who started some last year, won the job this year. Got to clean up those turnovers. Otherwise, this game's going to be a little closer than expected. I think A&M wins by 10 to 14 points. And with the number at 17, I'm tempted to take Appalachian State.
Yeah, that's a good point there. My guy Dabby Cab in the chat, man. My guy loves Texas A&M. I wonder what he thinks about in this game, Cab. What you like, man? I know your team is laying 18 here. Like you said though, Tony, if they're pushing around up front, this is how I feel. If A&M can run the ball, it can get ugly, right? Because the offense didn't look too well last week, but they could have just kind of been keeping things close to the vest, know that they were going to win that game. This is another one where it's not really a huge opponent. I'd have to look and see who A&M has next, but it's a tough game for it. I know it's App State with their leaky defense, man. I just feel like you're going up against some big boys now, even bigger than UNC last week, right? So if they'll win, if UNC can score 21 straight points over you, what do you think the Aggies going to do? So yeah, the Aggies, they do have Miami on deck next week.
Miami.
So it's a tough game for me, man. I must say I'm not too familiar with Texas A&M. I didn't really I know it was the first game, but I feel like they could have really put up 70 points in that first game. They was kind of just out there BSing around, but you never know, man. This one's all on App State. So it's all, if their defense is going to continue to be that bad, maybe look at an over here. Maybe look at a little over spot here. I know that Texas A&M defense is pretty damn good as well, though. So it's a tough game for me there, Tony. Let's get over here. This one's not so tough. You got Alabama here versus Texas. They're laying 20 points versus the Longhorns on the road. Now, everybody's on Alabama here, Tony. Are they right? Or can Texas hang with them at all? We know that guy wouldn't start Sarkisian like the offensive coordinator under. So Saban's going to want to smash him. Isn't he? What are we doing in this one?
Yeah, I mean, Saban's going to have an idea of Sark's tricks and philosophies. So from that standpoint, that's a disadvantage for the Longhorns. The quarterback is one of the most highly regarded prospects we've seen since Trevor Lawrence. In that stratosphere, he was at Ohio State last year. Now he's at Texas. Had a good debut. He looked strong. And Bijan Robinson is a hell of a running back. Maybe easily top 10, maybe top 5 in the college game. So I mean, the Longhorns have weapons. It's just a matter. I mean, multiple receivers that can get over, but like you're going to face an Alabama defense that is the best you'll see in the entire season, and easily the best defense that we'll see in college football this year, on the level of Georgia's last year. So can Texas move the ball early? And that's why I think my lean is first half Bama. Because first half Bama has been a winning bet for years, because Saban typically pulls his starters and they take their foot off the gas in that fourth quarter, and then you're dealing with backdoor cover territory, because Texas is going to be playing for more pride than Alabama if they got this game on lock. So Alabama first half's my lead.
Man, I know Alabama started cashing a ton of first halves last year. I know last year really the books really started to catch on to like, damn, they catch this shit every week. What do they do this year? They're starting to grade it up a lot more. So the Bama first half is minus 12.5 with them laying 20 on the full game. So the books have definitely caught up to them cashing every first half. Doesn't mean that they're not going to continue to cash them, but just there is somewhat of a premium to pay with the first half now. But hey, it's Alabama, right? Everybody, hey, the books know they're going to get smashed with Alabama no matter what number they put out there. So let's see what happens in this one. What Cass say? He said, I've been waiting for next week's game against Miami for a minute. If we get a good line next week, it'll be Hammer Town. Okay. Well, hopefully Texas A&M doesn't cover, and then maybe we'll get a better line next week. Cab, my guy there, man. We gotta do some dabs here pretty soon. But Tony, let's get over here to this Florida game. Another game in your backyard somewhat. You got Florida laying 4.5 here versus Kentucky. This line was at 5.5, if I'm not mistaken. Now down to 4.5. It's kind of some money coming in on Kentucky. I'm with you. I was on Utah, Tony, and I thought they'd get it done. Then Florida, they showed that they were the big dogs over there in the swamp. Maybe Utah couldn't handle that heat there in the fourth quarter. But what do you think? Now they're kind of picking on someone their own size. With Kentucky here, what do you think is going to happen in this SEC showdown?
Yeah, I mean, the Gators own Kentucky in football for 3 decades, 31 straight wins. The last 4 games have gone 2-2. You know, Kentucky snapped that streak in Gainesville. Last year they won in Lexington. So they've got momentum, but it's the Billy Napier at Florida, and he's got the longest win streak out of any college coach in Division I. It's up to 13. He's won 35 of his last 39 games after great success at Louisiana. And obviously, he convinced a lot of people that he's going to have Florida back on a quick rebuild. I went down to Tampa for the Gasparilla Bowl, where UCF beat Florida for the first time. I was ecstatic for that, but it was kind of a suspect Florida team. I'll give them that. You know, the quarterback transferred out after that. It was a rebuilding. They had already fired the Dan Mullen and that staff. So the Gators really impressed me with what they were able to do. Anthony Robinson, he's a backyard recruit, and everybody knows what he can do with his legs and his arm. Ran for 3 touchdowns, including the game winner against the Utes. But I think the difference in this game, why I'm hesitant to back Kentucky, and I'd like to see this line come down even more, their stud running back, Chris Rodriguez, got into like an off-field incident in the offseason. He's still suspended from the team. He'll be back at some point. But that's the first thing I looked for is Rodriguez back. No, he's not on there too deep. They also got 2 guys down, Ramon Jefferson and Justin McClain. So it's basically one of the best names in all of college football. Cavoursier Smoke is his show for that's his name. It's his show for Kentucky at the tailback position. I mean, you watch the Utah-Florida game. Do you think you can beat that Florida defense with only 1 running back? That's going to be tough. Will Levis threw for 303 yards for Kentucky last week, but it was against Miami of Ohio. So this is going to be a step up in class. On the road in Gainesville at the Swamp, they'll expect another 90,000 plus, and then they got revenge on their mind. So definitely lean Florida.
Yeah, that's facts right there. My guy Vaughn V Money Sports came out here from NBC Sports Edge, and he likes Florida as well. On Monday we did this show, so my guy's leaning Florida in that one. Let's try to get to as many games as possible. Let's go over here. Last game, we're going to talk about college, and then we're going to talk about a few NFL games, including one tonight and a couple for Sunday. Houston getting 3 points versus Texas Tech. Houston kind of struggled with UTSA there in that game, Tony. Then you got Texas Tech. I think I'm hearing that the quarterback is injured for Texas Tech. They're to the backup quarterback. That's why the money's coming on Houston. You got any info on this game, my brother? Total sitting at 63.
Yeah, no doubt. Tyler Shuck, Oregon transfer. He's had nothing but bad luck, and again was injured his shoulder. He's out for at least 3 weeks, closer to 6 maybe. Donovan Smith took over for him last year. They beat Iowa State and to get bowl eligible with Smith at the helm, and Mississippi State in the Liberty Bowl. So he looked good in both of those games. So, I mean, they're in capable hands, but yes, certainly it is a backup quarterback going. They also lost an offensive lineman that they were counting on, a Western Kentucky transfer, Cole Spencer, who started 44 games for the Hilltoppers and was plugged right into the starting offensive line for Texas Tech. They got to replace him. Tech's won 4 or 5 in the series. Houston, I expected them to struggle at UTSA. I stayed off the game because I didn't know who would win, and it was 37-35, one of those games that also ended on a 2-point conversion in the third OT, which I don't like for totals purposes because I used to blindly bet overs and hope for overtime. But yeah, I mean, the Cougs have Tank Dell. He's small, but he's built like a truck for a 160-pounder. He had a punt return call back, one of the most electric players we have in all of college football. So Texas Tech has to be wary of him, in the return game. And, this was a situation where Texas Tech also has a brand new head coach, brand new regime, Joey McGuire, who's a Texas high school coaching legend. But really,
I went to that high school.
Where you went there?
I went to Cedar Hill High School, man. He was the man there. I'm telling you, he was #1 in the nation. I know who Coach McGuire is, and he knows me.
No doubt, no doubt, and they have Zach Kitley, who last 2 years as an offensive coordinator at Houston Baptist. That's a monster numbers that they put up. As like an offensive showcase, and then at Western Kentucky last year, circus type numbers. I trust their coordinators. I just want to see it, and this is a real big test. So I'm staying off this game. I guess I would lean towards the over that Texas Tech UTSA over snuck in just due to the OT. So slow start there. If we can avoid a slow start here, I think I trust that offense to generate points for Texas Tech, and Tank Dell, I think, can't be stopped. So I think Houston's going to get some points too. I mean, technically, Clayton Tune and Tank Dell didn't put up the numbers that I would have expected them to against UTSA. So maybe they're down to rebound. Over might be the play for me.
Yeah, that's a good point there. In theory, I've seen a lot of money come in on Houston, guys. So the pros, they've come in on Houston plus the 3, taking the money line. They're fading the new coach with Texas Tech and it probably will take a little time for McGuire to get used to it as well. Obviously, he's been a really good college, really good high school football coach. Now he's been an assistant in college, now being a head coach. So it could be. I'm not a big fan of Dana Holmgren. He's been. I don't know. Every time I put money on those fuckers, man, they screw me over. So I like to lean Houston, but they. Bro, I don't know why, but every single time I take them, he finds a way to screw me over. Let's get to some NFL real quick, Tony. About 5 more minutes here. We got it's Thursday night football. Oh, it's NFL time, baby. It's time for some NFL, man. We got the Bills. They're laying 2.5 points at the Rams. Why the hell are the Super Bowl champs a dog here, man? But why? What are we doing here? Why the hell are the Rams getting 2.5, Tony? Are the books giving out free money?
The disrespect. I don't know. Maybe they expect a Super Bowl hangover. Certainly, there was an issue with Matthew Stafford's elbow. He wasn't going to play in the preseason anyway because McVay doesn't believe in that. But they held him out for a little while there. He's reporting no limitations. I mean, let's not forget. Let's not have short memories. Threw for 6,000 yards, including the postseason last year, and 50 touchdowns. I mean, so clearly in command of that offense. They lose Robert Woods, and they added Allen Robinson, who's a hell of a wide receiver. They're going to be without Van Jefferson in tonight's game. He's more of a deep threat, so they've got to kind of replace him. And let's not forget they added Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner basically called them and said, "Hey, I want to be part of that program." But they lose Von Miller to the Bills side, so it'll be wild to see the reception there. Buffalo fans, from what I understand, have flooded LA. So Bills Mafia will be in attendance. Look, I respect the hell out of the Bills. Josh Allen's supposed to have a huge season. He's the betting favorite at most books to win MVP. That offense is going to be great. Gabriel Davis from UCF, I watched him play in college, and he's blossomed into a receiver as the number 2 there. So from that standpoint, I think we see a lot of offensive firepower. We see a lot of talent out on the field, and will LA represent, or will they let Bills Mafia take over that stadium? That remains to be seen. Another concern I have with the Bills is until Tre'Davious White comes back, they're young at corner. They're going to start a rookie, albeit a first-round pick out of Florida, Elam, that they have out ready to debut. So lots to see tonight. My lean would be Rams plus the points. I know you feel differently.
Yeah, I like the Bills. I'm not a football expert, guys. You don't have to listen to me, but I usually fade to. I know that McVay's 5-0 in the week 1. Those aren't weeks. Those aren't week 1s where he's coming off a Super Bowl. It's just a little bit different when you're coming off of when it doesn't matter what sport it is. If you've won the Stanley Cup, you won the NBA Finals, you won the NFL the Super Bowl. That offseason will be a lot different than any other offseason you've had. I won't say too much about it, but just know that there's a lot less working out. There's a lot less planning. There's a lot less, in theory, motivation. You see what I'm saying? Because you're showing off your ring. You're showing off the trophy to everyone, going back to your high school, everywhere. Vacation, you're taking a little bit longer vacation, all that. You had a longer season. So I usually fade the winners, the championship winners, no matter what sport in that first game. I feel like it's a good long-term bet. We did it last year, cash with the Cowboys plus the 9 versus the Bucks. And I gotta do the same thing here. I took the Bills when it was like at -1 or +1 over the summer. This is one I knew I was gonna be on. I expected it to. I didn't expect to move this high to -2.5, but I like the Bills here with all the info for the Rams. McVay being 5-0, all that good stuff. Man, champ, they're still the dogs in this game. I think it's for the reason the Bills. I think they're the real deal this year, and I think they got to come out here and send a message as well. You got real Super Bowl aspirations. You got to try to come out here and win this game and show the world where everybody's watching against the defending champs. Man, it's a statement game for the Bills, if you ask me. And I think it could get ugly as well, my guys. I like the Billies, the Buffalo Billies in this one, man. We stacking Bills. A couple games real quick, Tony, if you don't mind. Patriots versus Dolphins, my brother. Dolphins land 3.5. Open up at 2.5. You like anything in this one?
Well, it's a huge game for Miami because they're so excited to have Tyreek Hill down there, and Hill and Waddle as at receivers. There's no more excuses for Tua Tagovailoa to get the job done, and Tua has been a polarizing figure since they took him with that first round pick, and he's got interception issues, so he's got to clean those up. And this is a game against one of the best defensive minds ever in Bill Belichick, who's had all offseason the game plan for this speed and whatnot that we're going to see. We saw Tyreek Hill only once during the preseason, and immediately the first play of the game, he goes deep on a bomb, leads a touchdown drive. And New England is traveling to South Florida. They actually got into Miami on Tuesday, which is unheard of for an NFL team to get in that early, but they wanted to adjust to the humidity. Temperatures are expected to top 90 degrees. Like it'll feel like 100 on the field. So we'll see if they got the stamina for this one. I mean, it's put on a plate for Miami to start off strong here, but the Patriots are the Patriots. Mac Jones is going into year 2. Looked like he struggled in his first collaboration with Matt Patricia calling plays, but that's just the preseason, and you can only chalk that up with a grain of salt. But yeah, certainly with Josh McDaniels now coaching Las Vegas, it's on Patricia to get that job done, calling plays for the Patriots. So a huge game, AFC East immediately right out of the gate. My lean is Miami, but you have to respect New England, obviously.
Yeah, and I just feel like if we like the Dolphins, we should have got on them at 2.5 or 3. Hate to lay that 3 and a hook when the line was available for a while, but I could see Miami win this one by a touchdown or more. I could also see the Patriots getting some double revenge from last year. Tough game for me. Let's go real quick. One that's very one-sided, Tony. It's pretty simple. It's Jaguars or nothing for me. It's another game. It was at +3 sitting there for a while. It's come down to 2.5. You have that home team land 2.5. That's usually a fade for me. Home team land 2.5. or 3. They're pretty much telling you that the road team is likely the better team. They're just giving some home field advantage. So what do you think? Can we lay points with the Commanders? Man, they're the Redskins, man. Screw all that. But you like
the Commanders now. Look, my lean, I just did a ratchet play video. I do I picked the worst game on the schedule. I call it the ratchet play.
The ratchet.
And we hit 12-16 last year. So I just taped that before taping with you. Hope your audience will tune in to that. It'll be available on YouTube on Wager Talk's channel later on today. And my best bet is on the over here. You've got the Jaguars getting back Travis Etienne. He missed all the last season with the foot injury. It was devastating loss. They get James Robinson, a truck, back. He's back from his Achilles injury. They added Christian Kirk from Arizona to help become a deep threat for Trevor Lawrence, who figures to take a step forward. So I like the Jaguars offense. And I also like Carson Wentz trying to get off to a good start in D.C., going up against a young Jaguar secondary. I mean, and the one thing I saw in doing the research for that play is they don't intend to double team Terry McLaurin. So if McLaurin gets going early, that means Wentz gets going early. Antonio Gibson almost lost his job to Brian Robinson before Robinson got carjacked and shot. Prayers out to him. Hopefully he comes back sooner than later. It should be sometime next month if all goes well. But that's on Antonio Gibson now saying I get a second chance to try to solidify the job. I think he'll have a good day. Jahan Dotson, the Penn State first-round pick at wide receiver, looks to debut well. So I see a lot of firepower here. I see two desperate teams that have sucked for the last 5 years. So let's see some points, baby. I lean to the Washington Commanders, but I like the over better at 44.
You know what? That's a good point. Usually, when two crappy teams meet up as well, there can definitely be plenty of points. You might see a kick return, touchdown, punt return, special teams, or interception for touchdown as well. And I know the Jaguars defense is kind of ass, or I'm not a big fan of Wentz at all. I'm talking about I'm not a Wentz backer at all. So I mean, hey, it's not, but I would lean to that over with you, Tony. I appreciate that as well, man. Let's get out of here. Let's talk about some picks now, my guys. Let's talk about some picks now, Tony. If you guys didn't know, man, Tony is the guy over here at Wager Talk, man. He does everything, does basically all sports. Tony, if you got any promo codes for us, let us know any plays you got coming up on Wager Talk and any free picks that you'd like to give out tonight or Saturday, my brother.
No promo codes, but go to wt.buzz/TM. They got packages set up for pretty much everything. I mean, we're gonna be having the World Cup in November, so I'm gonna be super busy with NBA, college basketball, World Cup, and obviously both footballs. But yeah, I got a free play up on the under. It's been up for a month on the under in New Orleans and Atlanta. Go read that right up, wt.buzz/TM on my page at Wager Talk. You know, I already gave it out. Call me a homer all you want. UCF hammers Louisville tomorrow, weather permitting.
I like my guy Tony breaking us off with the Friday night college football plays, like in UCF, hometown team with some revenge as well, laying the -5.5. Also, Vaughn came on here Monday as well. He likes UCF. I believe he likes UCF and Florida, and he did the money line parlay as well, if I'm not mistaken. So it looks like Tony would sign off on both of those plays as well. Break you guys down with some college football picks, man. Obviously, we talked about some NFL as well. I'll have another show. We're doing the actual full NFL show tonight, man, with my guy Shark, 5 p.m. Eastern, my guys. Do not miss the show. Make sure you share it, retweet it as well, guys. Don't miss out the first NFL show, man. We will win, my guys. Let's get some cash. We appreciate everybody for tuning in as well. We appreciate your time as well, my guys. Post those pics in the chat. Post some comments after the video. Hit me up for shirts as well, man. jmoneyasmoney.com. I got you, free mind. Finna DM me back right now. I appreciate your opportunity. Let's get some cash. Us against the bookies, my guys. We out.